Quasar. In this day and age, people have flags that represent many things. There are flags for your country, there are flags for your sexual preference, and there's even flags for suspicious behavior in people. One of the least mentioned flags is the flags for domestic terrorism. And yes, I'm talking about a false flag. Now, for those of you who don't know what a false flag is, it's a deceptive tactic where an event or action is staged to appear as if it was carried out by a different party or group than one actually responsible, often to justify a specific action or gain an advantage. Why would anyone do something like that, you may ask? Well, it's to drum up national support and get everyone riled up with patriotism and a sense of duty to get back at those who allegedly attacked us.
Allegedly, that's ignorant.
One of the most well-known and admitted false flags is Operation Northwoods. If you know anything about President Kennedy's short term, you would know that he was a strong advocate for peace, not only in America, but around the world. So you can imagine his surprise when the CIA themselves whipped up a plan to fake a Cuban missile strike on American territory in efforts to create a reason to invade Cuba. Thankfully, President Kennedy rejected this proposal, but one thing I want you to keep in mind is that the CIA, even back in the 1960s, saw no problem in launching a missile at American territory, potentially harming Americans while also creating a misplaced hate for Cuba to allow for an unjust invasion. Now, I have 3 specific events that I deem false flags, and over the next couple of minutes, I'd like to elaborate on why, and also help you ask more questions about random acts of violence rather than just accepting a given narrative. To start off, let's pick up where we left off with Kennedy and his assassination.
Dragovich.
As you know, the files have just been released after 60 years of classification, and people are eager to find new information. On a side note, one of the funniest memes I saw tried to implicate the Soviets, out of all people, in the Kennedy assassination. So, who did kill Kennedy? As the story goes, Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy from a building as he drove by in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas. Later in the Dallas Police Department, Jack Ruby, whose real name is Jack Rubenstein, decided to shoot the lone shooter, effectively silencing any chance of learning the truth. Now, I'd like to rewind and give you some context before presidents started turning into airheads. JFK was persistent in his attempts to get the American Zionist Organization, now known as AIPAC, to register under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA. Coincidentally, every time they were demanded to do so, they simply didn't comply. Why is this important, you may ask? Well, if you're not aware, AIPAC is essentially a lobbying group, and unfortunately 99% of our politicians seem to be taking money from them to push certain agendas. Let's say a Russian agency was giving our politicians money to say and act certain ways to get certain laws passed in the United States on behalf of Russia. Wouldn't you want to be aware of who's funding that politician to say that rather than just believing that it's his personal value? This is what JFK was trying to push for, as he saw how dark money could and would corrupt the democratic system. Besides that, it was Kennedy who stood up against Israel's nuclear program, as he was in favor of world disarmament. Unfortunately, things never go right for the Kennedys.
Nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys. What?
As he would never get AIPAC to register under FARA. Israel now has nukes, and he kind of got his head blown up. His successor, LBJ, who I'll be speaking more about later, wasn't so pressed to make AIPAC register under FARA. As a matter of fact, he couldn't care less and was stated as saying he was going to be a better friend to Israel than Kennedy was. Just a little fun fact, LBJ himself was Jewish. Connect whatever dots you seem fit. So when you take all of this into context, you have Kennedy standing in the way of the CIA starting a conflict, Kennedy standing in the way of AIPAC and Israel's nuclear program, and Kennedy advocating for peace rather than forever wars to fund a military-industrial complex. This may not fall under a false flag completely, but I do see it as an act of domestic terrorism by our government and allies.
17, 0, 10, 2, 23, 1, 8, 11, 25, 22, 9, 4,
6.5 millimeter.
9, 23, 1, 12, 0, 12, 16,
11, 22.
6, 12, 8, 4, 1, 6, 2, 10, 2, 1.
Texas.
Moving on to our next false flag, we have 9/11.
Why the fuck wouldn't a Islamic nigga take a flight all the way to America to take another flight and bomb some fucking towers? Nigga, that shit don't sound right. Hold on, I ain't running out of breath on that shit. I ain't finished, nigga, hold on. How the fuck this nigga came from all the way from the Middle East? Ain't nobody take his fucking credentials. That shit don't sound right, nigga. I have a bad feeling about this.
Now, I've only just started asking questions about 9/11 maybe just a few months ago, rather than just believing the simple Arabs flew plane into a building and they collapsed story. Let me tell you, the more you think about it, the more it doesn't make sense.
You can't tell me the shit I'm saying don't make sense. That 9/11 shit don't make sense.
Before I go on, I just want to say my condolences to anyone who lost a loved one on 9/11. I understand this event was devastating and traumatized countless families. Now, how sickening would it be if your government and allies helped orchestrate this chaos? As we know, on 9/11, American Airlines Flight 11 flew into the North Tower, and a few minutes later, United Airlines 175 flew into the South Tower. Or did it? A couple hours later, the jet fuel allegedly burned a reinforced rebar steel. Allegedly! And makes the building collapse in a demolition-like manner. After the dust has settled, someone stumbles upon a passport that, believe it or not, survived the plane crash that destroyed a plane, destroyed a black box which is stronger than a passport, and made it past all that jet fuel that melted through reinforced rebar steel apparently. And wouldn't you know it, the passport belonged to one of the hijackers.
Another development on Saturday, New York officials revealed at a news conference here in the city that a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that. No other details were given, but the discovery prompted the FBI and police to expand the search area down in Lower Manhattan.
After this, we all got patriotic and backed our government in the invasion of Iraq because Al-Qaeda was the big bad wolf.
Who the fuck would've pissed him off like that in the first place? Okay, that nigga had some ops. Why the fuck would he blow up the Twin Towers?
And had weapons of mass destruction, or at least that's what Benjamin Netanyahu said.
There is no question whatsoever that Saddam is seeking and is working and is advancing towards the development of nuclear weapons. No question whatsoever. If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
Which turned out to be false. But yeah, let's keep looking for those weapons of mass destruction elsewhere. Now, why would I say something as bold as this was a false flag operation? Well, let's take a closer look at what really happened.
How the fuck airplane at the top of the tower and that whole fucking building collapsed to the ground? How the fuck y'all knocked down the tower with a plane that was built to withstand fucking planes? How the fuck that building even fall? That shit was built to withstand bombs. That shit was literally built to withstand airplanes. They knew that shit was tall as fuck. Like, damn, a nigga could accidentally fly a plane into this bitch. So they built that shit to withstand airplanes. How the fuck did
Many conspiracy theorists say that 9/11 was more of a controlled demolition than a terrorist attack. The Twin Towers themselves were built to withstand getting struck by a plane, which it did until...
The situation in the lobby was such that there was no doubt on what had happened.
The ladies that are with me were in the World Trade Center in the first building and escaped through the lobby where they report they believe there was a bomb in the lobby.
We ran down the steps to the lobby. There was no lobby. Everything was torn up.
We came outside in the lobby. There was no lobby. The lobby was totally gone.
Did you see other people?
There was a woman there with her face blown off.
Big glass lobby, and all the glass was broken. Wires hanging from the ceiling. The signs that would hang above telling you where to go were all hanging. It was unbelievably scary to look at.
Firefighter John Schroeder was climbing the stairs of Tower 1 when he heard the huge explosion from below.
We were heading up to the 24th floor of the stairwell, and all of a sudden our building got rocked. We got bounced around in the stairwell like pinballs, man. And we just said, you know what? Time to go. We came down, it looked like a bomb went off in the lobby. Everything was exploded, everything was gone. We're like, what is going on here? For every window in the lobby to be exploded, I mean, them windows were like as thick as forget it. They were 2-3 inch glasses, you know, come on. They exploded out of the lobby. You know, it wasn't from the jet fuel. No way.
I saw it. No plane hit nothing.
That is not a plane. They don't know what they're talking about. How would they see a plane hit that?
Dude, I saw the second explosion. There was no plane that hit the second building. It exploded from the inside out.
It was a bomb. Bomb in another building, not second plane. That was a bomb. Who said the second plane?
That's what we're told, the second plane. We saw it on television.
Everything.
All right, thanks a lot.
What happened was I was down in the basement. All of a sudden we heard a loud bang. And the elevator doors blew open. Some guy was burnt up. So I dragged him out. His skin was all hanging off.
So I dragged him out and I pulled him out of the parking lot. This was what was left on it. Pulled him out. When I pulled him out, I looked up and the second bomb blew off. Just saw a big burst.
All of a sudden, you heard a loud explosion. So we all ran to look. And the first building was a big hole on the side of it, and on the other side went in flames. So we stood there in shock. Everyone's screaming. A woman collapsed on me. I had to lay her down on my textbooks. And then before you know it, out of nowhere, the next building blew up. And then all of a sudden, everyone's running all over the place. A panic attack.
We actually didn't see the second plane, but we saw the explosion hit the other tower.
That has to be a bomb, right? Yes, of course. That exploded right in front of us.
I did not see a plane. They said the plane hit the first building. The second building just exploded.
That looks like a second plane.
I did not see a plane go in.
How come the mainstream media never picked up on all of these accounts of explosions in the tower before the plane even hit? There's even a video of the owner of the Trade Center in Building 7, a building near the Twin Towers, on camera admitting to giving the orders to demolish the Building 7.
Larry Silverstein, new leaseholder of the World Trade Center, regretfully declared that a decision was made to pull Building 7 by the end of the day, the last structure added to the World Trade Center complex. Let's hear Mr. Silverstein's actual words, delivered for our benefit in the 2002 PBS documentary America Rebuilds.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Now, this begs the question, how could you have a demolition in place before the attacks happened? And how lucky, his words, for him to be able to collect on the insurance on the 3 buildings that fell to 2 planes on 9/11. After doing some research for this video, I literally can't find a single trace of him saying how lucky it was for him to collect on that tax insurance. But I promise you I saw it. It's just lost footage now. Beyond this, we have videos of Israeli intelligence agents dancing in front of the burning trade centers on the day of 9/11.
In the days after the September attacks, there were countless rumors about strange coincidences surrounding the events. One report about a group of Middle Eastern men spotted the morning of September 11th parked just across the river from New York City has not gone away. Investigation of their presence has led to questions about whether Israel was conducting espionage on U.S. soil. We're joined now by ABC's John Miller with an exclusive report this evening.
That's right, Elizabeth. This is a case that took the FBI and the CIA more than 2 months to sort out, while 5 Israelis waited in jail. It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed 3 men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. They didn't look shocked to me. They didn't look shocked. I thought it was very strange.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli. They were turned over to the FBI. Sources tell ABC News during a check of national security databases, some of the men were listed as having had connections with Israeli intelligence. At the FBI, that set off alarm bells. The FBI needed the answers to 3 important questions. Who were these men? What brought them to that parking lot on the morning of September 11th? And did they have any advance knowledge of what was going to happen that day? The men said they were just taking pictures at the time. They said they worked for a company called Urban Moving. The FBI obtained a search warrant for the company's offices.
2 SUVs were filled up with between 9 and 12 boxes and computers.
Not long after the arrests, the offices of Urban, Stephen Gordon was their American lawyer.
They were asked questions if they had ever been approached by or hired by any non-United States intelligence community.
While there is still some debate among American intelligence officials, many investigators believe some of the men were part of an Israeli operation aimed at monitoring radical Islamic charities that support groups like Hamas, something lawyers for the 5 men and the Israeli government strongly deny.
These 5 Israelis were not involved in any intelligence operation in the United States. The story is simply false.
In the end, the FBI concluded there was no evidence that any of the 5 men had advance knowledge of the September 11th plot. After 71 days, the 5 Israelis were deported.
Don't think I forgot about the Pentagon too. Remember earlier how I mentioned the CIA didn't care about firing missiles on American territory? Well, take a look at this footage from the Pentagon of what's supposed to be a plane hitting the sector responsible for some of the most important military decisions and killing an additional 184 Americans. So on September 10th, the Pentagon couldn't track $2.3 trillion.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
2.3 trillion with a T.
Then the next day, 4 planes just get hijacked, 2 hit the Twin Towers, and 3 buildings fall. One hits the E-wing of the Pentagon at a spectacular angle, and another fails its hijack attempt. And somehow, we just knew who was behind it ASAP because a passport survived the crash and heat that brought down a skyscraper built with reinforced rebar steel.
They can believe that.
Take from this what you will, but I'm under the impression that what we know about 9/11 may not be the complete truth.
Believe that fucking shit you a fool.
And if even a little bit of you believes that, you too could be a conspiracy theorist with a nice shiny tinfoil hat like me.
They catch my breath and got a fucking airplane out that shit to the fucking ground. Who the fuck seen the first plane hit the tower and allow that shit to go a second round? Why the fuck the military ain't just shoot it down? It take a long ass time to fly to New York. I know they seen the fucking plane flying off the course. I know they was on the walkie-talkie like over, and ain't nobody say shit back. What? That 9/11 shit was whack, and nigga, this ain't even a rap.
Now, this last topic does have a lot of bad juju around it, and it's typically a shadow banned topic, even though it's less of a conspiracy and more of a historical fact. And unfortunately, in this day and age, facts can be deemed anti-Semitic. Now, if you don't know about this historical event, I don't blame you, as it took place on June 8th, 1967 during LBJ's presidency. A secret US naval ship was heading towards the Mediterranean Sea during the Six-Day War. Unbeknownst to them, having been spotted by Israeli planes, they assumed themselves safe passing through as their allies were in the sky and they were flying their flags. For some magical reason, a few hours later, a fighter jet and torpedo boats from the same nation opened fire on the ship, effectively wiping out 90% of their communication systems.
As in the letter, they took out all of our antennas within 3 seconds. Our 450 caliber machine guns were gone. Every watertight door was hit. And this went on for 25 minutes, dropping napalm on us.
The torpedo boats claimed the lives of 25 sailors alone in one strike, according to one of the survivors of this event.
And then we saw the torpedo boats, and the Star of David said, oh man, here's our best friends who are going to come help us. No, they come to sink us.
This attack went on for hours with no help being sent out to the Liberty.
And he got hooked up, Rockstar, and like I said, it went to Vietnam. The Sixth Fleet picked it up. They automatically sent aircraft from the Saratoga and Captain Tully. And before they even hit the horizon, McNamara says, bring those aircraft back. Do not help Liberty. Turn around.
As a matter of fact, help was forced to return via orders of, you guessed it, President LBJ.
And then what happened?
Then the America and Tully reconfigured their aircraft, and they sent aircraft again because they went to a different command. They wanted, it was their prerogative to go to a different, higher.
Because they're thinking, what do you mean pull us back? Like our American.
Right. And then LBJ gets on the phone, and his exact words were, I don't give a GD if all those sailors die. I'm not going to embarrass my ally Israel, like I said in the letter. Now, how did he know that if we didn't know it? Who was attacking us?
Because he didn't want to embarrass his allies in Israel. Now, knowing that LBJ was well aware of who was attacking and chose not to send help, it begs the question, what was the goal of this attack? To put it simply, this was a false flag attempt that failed and was meant to help provoke the Six-Day War by sinking an American vessel. After killing 34 people and wounding 171 others, the best excuse provided for this incident was a lapse in communication between military personnel and that they thought the Liberty was an enemy Egyptian ship. But of course, people with common sense can see this for what it is, a failed setup by our leaders and allies. But of course, the US government and Israel investigated the situation and deemed that arguably the best intelligence agency in the world just happened to have the wrong intelligence. Israel has apologized and sent reparations to some of the families, but it doesn't really help cover up the blatant facts of the matter. It's kind of like if your dad let your uncle punch you in the face, but he gave you $5, so it's okay now. Hope you enjoyed this video and most likely learned something new, and don't forget to drop a like and subscribe because I know the algorithm's not gonna like this one. Hope you have a great day and stay educated. Bye!